Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
All right, this is episode 99. I'm one of your hosts, Josh Rohr.
And I'm Laura Sturm. So we're going to roll right into the powerlifting situation. Another lifter posts something petty about you, then implies something that is not true on social media. Geez, that really happens? Kidding. What do you do?
I would say ignore it. However, I got sucked into this past weekend and posted something back petty. So and I was called out on it by somebody. So I figured I would address the situation and give a little more context to the pettiness. So I'm not, I don't want to say I'm not sorry that I posted what I did. I'm not sorry I posted what I did, but I could have done it in a less petty way. So that's what I intend to do at this point, is explain the situation. So basically the situation is, I'll just name names because it's out there. So Big Mike Zawlinski, put right after the World Games was finishing up, he posted a Instagram post that says, "Convince me that I am wrong." And then it says, if a particular athlete didn't retire, there would have been a different USA affiliate for powerlifting at the World Games. So again, this doesn't mean anything to a lot of people because everybody's like, what is he even talking about?
Right.
But based on previous conversations and some things that I've been privy to. Yeah. So he's implying that, so he's talking about Priscilla.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically saying that if Priscilla was still an active lifter and was competing in the World Games, that USA Powerlifting would have given into the IPF and done whatever it took to be able to still compete there. And I call bullshit on that. For the simple reason as I was part of all of those discussions, and we literally did everything we possibly could short of stopping our drug testing at the local level at the capacity that we are. So would we have wanted to stay more? Potentially, but there's no scenario that we stop our drug testing. So yeah, I don't think that's an accurate. First of all, why is that even posted? Like, is my question. Like it came out of nowhere for no reason. Like, you just hosted the World Games, and do you really feel the need to fire a shot like that? For what reason? But I played ball and posted something back and basically said, Mike, why are you being petty? And, maybe it's because you now realize how difficult it is to deal with the IPF. So I admit, and my buddy Tim Mercer called me on that one. Why are you being petty back? Isn't that a little hypocritical? Yes, I believe it was. So I think, and I'll say this too. I do want to say this. Like, I know Mike really well. Mike's been a good friend of mine for a long time, still is, and as far as I'm concerned, and same with Tim. So like, yeah, we're poking each other back and forth about some serious stuff that, people have very strong feelings about. But at the end of the day, I don't have any hard feelings or anything, and hopefully they didn't take that way. But anyway, so that was Josh wearing his petty pants this past weekend. So
petty pants. So, in hindsight, would you have responded any different?
I would have left the part about dealing with the IPF off of there, because that was not necessary, I guess, to addressing what was posted.
Yeah.
So I kind of just like responded to what was posted and then threw in an additional shot for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is sometimes you could even respond with facts and say, hey, we did everything we could short of, stopping local drug testing. Like we did, like you could say the facts and it still wouldn't probably change anything.
Yeah. Well, where were you yesterday?
Sorry.
No,
change anything though, like at the end of the day, you could like go back and, you state facts, he states facts, and you go back and forth. And at the end of the day, you're probably not going to change. You're not going to change his mind. He's not going to change your mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the positive, Chris Elmore seems to have enjoyed the back and forth. So
hey, as long as we're entertaining Chris, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Right. So
yeah.
All right. So speaking of World Games, for those that don't know, the World Games just happened this past weekend in Birmingham, Alabama. We had some U.S. lifters and some not technically U.S. lifters, but they are U.S. lifters lifting for Virgin Islands. So just kind of going to do a quick recap of everybody that medaled at the World Games from the U.S. So in the women's division, Taylor LaChapelle, she got silver medal in the middleweights for the women. Kimberly Johnson got fourth. Kelsey McCarthy got second for Virgin Islands, and Bonica Brown. We're going to come back to her. Let me go through the guys first. We'll come back to Bonica and the heavyweights. On the men's side, Newt Douglas got third for Virgin Islands. Ian Bell got second in the heavyweights. And Joe Capolino actually bombed out in the bench. But our buddy Steve Mann ended up in seventh. So, as much as some of the things Steve's done has irritated me, like I'm happy for him because I know he worked hard to get there. And to get there at that age and to have he had a really good meet too. So that's the other thing. So, he did a pretty good job there. But let's come back to the Bonica situation. So, Bonica lifted in a super heavy and she was basically in second all day. And she had the very last deadlift and she loaded up what she needed to edge out Rhea Stinn from Canada and to beat her. And she loaded it up and pulled it, got 2 white lights. She got a red from the chief referee. And it's hard to tell from the live stream, but it looked like it was a red light with a red card, meaning not locked out. Because a lot of people have been arguing that there was downward motion and things like that. But I'm pretty sure that it was a red light with a red card, meaning that they called lockout. So anyway, the live stream, first of all, it's a U.S. lifter, so everybody was going crazy in the crowd for her. Everybody was on their feet, and she pulled it. Good lift. She won the World Games. She jumps over and like basically bear hug / tackles Jeff Douglas, and celebrating. And then the live streams, going down the list. All right, first place was Bonica, second place was Rhea Stinn, third place, blah blah blah, and they're like on 5th or 6th place, and they're like, wait a second, hold on a minute. It looks like there's a discussion going on over at the jury table, and sure enough, they end up overturning Bonica's lift. And I wasn't there, but I did have somebody that was working the event very close to the platform. I'm not going to give specifics or kind of give away who it is. But was working the venue, working the meet. They actually sent me a message and said that Canada did protest, which again, I have no problems with that. I mean, I would protest it too if I was coaching against Bonica, even if it looked perfect. If there was one red light, I'm protesting it at that level meet. The very last lift, you're damn right, I'm protesting it. But with the way a jury works, and I actually had to read up on this because I wasn't even aware of this. Actually, I thought a jury always had to be unanimous to overturn a lift. If it's a 3-person jury, it has to be unanimous. If it's a 5-person jury, so juries can either be 3 or 5 people. So if it's a 5-person jury, it just has to be majority. And they had a 5-person majority and they were split 3-2. So three 3 on the jury said overturn it, and 2 said not to overturn it. Well, if you do the math, there was 2 white lights on the platform, and 2 people on the jury say not to overturn it, and you got 3 people on the jury that say overturn it, and 1 that gave a red light. That's 4-4. So literally, you're going to overturn a lift with basically a 50-50 split on if it's good or not, for the, at the biggest competition in the world in powerlifting, most prestigious, to take away a lift that was otherwise good, and cost, the gold medal. I watched that video. I don't know how many times, like, I don't know how many times. I honestly, I feel like I'm a fairly diligent / strict referee. And yes, it didn't look super easy, but a third attempt never should be. But that's really the only thing I can say about it. Like, there was no,
Right.
I didn't see any downward motion. I didn't see any hitching. I didn't see any, failure to lock out. Now the only thing I will say too, you can see like the bar settle just a little bit right as she locks out. Well, that's in the rule book that's allowed. So people that are saying there's downward motion, technically the bar dips a little bit, but that's as she's locking out, and it never goes back up and back down after it descends that little bit. So, and she does bobble just a little bit at the top, like her shoulders kind of bobble. But if you're watching the bar during that bobble, it never descends.
Mm.
So that technically should not be a violation. So I don't know. I feel bad for her. Like, she literally got, I really feel like she got screwed. Like,
Yeah,
literally it
robbed.
got taken away from her.
Yeah, I watched the video a couple times, and I watched the you had posted something on, was it Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook, both, about it, and I watched it, and I was just like heartbroken for her. And it's pretty rare to see something get overturned for 2 whites and
Yeah.
1 red. Right. I always thought that it could get overturned if it was the other way, like if it was 2 reds and a white. I thought that's when you could really protest it. I didn't know you could protest a good lift to make it bad.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the jury too, is like their purpose. They get, so I guess rules of the jury, they can overturn a split decision either direction, with or without a challenge from a coach. So they could have done that on their own if had Canada not protested. The other part that is in the rule book though is there's verbiage about being very blatant or obvious missed calls. And to me, that is not a very blatant and obvious missed call, because I can't even see, I don't even know for sure what they overturned her on. So I can't say that it was obvious. And if there's any doubt, benefit of the doubt goes to the lifter in taking away from the lifter.
Yes.
I think that's the worst case, giving a lifter a good lift when it was, coin flip and they got red lights, to me is less of an injustice ain't the right word. It's less of a, it's more, I don't know, decent. It's a more decent thing to do than to take away a lift that won the meet and that was basically looks good. So
Right.
And
you and I got the opportunity to watch the lift after it happened. They're still making a call from the live lift. They're not doing an instant replay, right?
Well, I found a little nugget in the IPF rulebook that
Really?
appeared that they are allowed to use video now. So I did not know that was in there either. I didn't know that video review was being used. But I don't know if it was used at that meet or not.
Interesting.
And nobody has given me that information if it was or not. So I don't know if it was or was not used, but regardless, like, I played the video in slow motion back and forth a few times, a lot. And I if it is there, it's so minor that you could probably find it on pretty much every other single lifter too. When you're watching it in slow motion.
Right.
But again,
Right.
I don't know what they're finding because I didn't see anything. So like it's, I'm saying you might see it in slow motion, but what that it is, I don't know because I watched it in slow motion and didn't see anything.
Oh, it's just heartbreaking. It's like you train and you work so hard to get to the World Games. You win gold, and then the worst imaginable thing happens. That's just awful. I just feel horrible for her.
The only thing I could potentially think that they called was, and it wouldn't be the right call, is locking out and then unlocking, because her shoulders bobble just a little bit as she's getting into the locked out position, but she was never fully locked out. And the other key to that is, like, typically if you wobble and your shoulders come forward, that bar is going to come down a little bit. The bar never came down. That's the part that I just can't get my head around. So anyway, watching her on the awards podium was just like, it was the worst. Like, I mean, you basically 5 years, like she won it 5 years ago, and to come back, obviously because of COVID, it got extended a year, trained essentially for 5 years and come back. And now if she misses the lift or she hitches or whatever,
Right.
Okay, you didn't win. Like you got beat. She didn't get beat. She did everything she needed to do to win. She did it. She pulled it. They won. She said she won. And then to have it like basically just ripped away after the fact is just like, I don't know. I just, like, I wasn't there. I'm not personally like attached to, I mean, obviously, Benika and I are pretty good friends. So, I mean, that part I'm connected with, but like, I don't coach her. Like, I wasn't at the meet, and I'm still just like, I got a knot in my stomach from just how the whole thing happened. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like a gut punch.
Yeah.
Regardless,
it'll be interesting to see how she comes back from this and, kind of regroups and moves forward.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
All right.
I got nothing. I don't know what else to say.
How do you go on?
Like, it's just like an awkward, just like uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah. Well, I would say, anybody who's wanting to see what we're talking about, was it on your personal Instagram, Josh, or Team Roar?
It was on the Team Roar Instagram. Yeah. Yesterday.
Go watch and weigh in.
Yeah, definitely. Go watch, weigh in. Let us know what you think. There's a couple people, I'd say 95% of the people on there are like, yeah, that was a good lift. And then there's like a couple randos like, oh, it's so obvious that was downward motion. I'm like, well, first of all, the red light that they got was not even downward motion. It was a red light or a red card for lockout. So, I don't think that's what they overturned, but I don't know.
Ugh. All right. Well, let's talk about music. A lighter subject.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So there is a new top 5 that we're doing. We mentioned it last week, but the deadline is Saturday, July 16th to submit your top 5 TV intro songs. So definitely get those to us. There's a link to submit it, link to the Google form in our bio. If you go to PL Ballads Podcast or Team Roar on Instagram, you can go to either one. And if you use the secret code Josh Loves Burpees, we will make sure that you get put in the top of the rankings when we rank everybody for the tournament. And whoever wins the tournament, we do have our sponsor now. Whoever wins the tournament is going to get a $50 gift card from 110%. So they have supplements, apparel, all kinds of things. Really cool company. They sponsored nationals, a bunch of local meets. I don't even know where they're based out of, to be honest, but they are doing local meet, like sponsoring local meets all over the place. But so secret code Josh Loves Burpees, and if you add into their tell us what the typo is in our Instagram post that we just posted with the instructions of how to enter the tournament. I had a typo in there, decided to leave it in. So if anybody can tell us what the typo is, in addition to the secret code of Josh Loves Burpees, we'll make sure that you're at the top of the top.
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
For Easter eggs. Very nice.
Yep. Yep.
I like it. And I like grammar nerds too, because I'm a grammar nerd.
Well, this isn't a grammar problem. This is just a flat out misspelled word.
Oh,
It was,
nice.
it's justifiable because the two keys were fairly close on the keyboard and I just hit the wrong one.
They do have
Easily.
this edit function, but you left it in, huh?
Yeah. Well, it was already posted when I realized it.
Oh,
So I'm like, you know what? I'm not redoing it. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to give somebody a little boost.
there you go.
So I did this for you, the listeners.
All right. Well, speaking of opportunities, you like my bridge there? So
Yeah.
let's talk about our new lifter tip. When starting out, focus on consistency and discipline. Many new lifters focus on finding the right program, coach, or nutrition plan. Early on, your progress is more likely slowed by you not being consistent and disciplined versus any other factor.
Yep. I think there's a lot of new coaches, and we're going the coaches route. New coaches are pushing like new lifters, like, you got to follow my program, all this stuff too. As a new lifter, I think it's more important for you just to get consistent, be disciplined with the little things like your sleep schedule, your eating schedule, your nutrition, and showing up and working hard. Like that's the big thing. Like you can have the best program in the world, but if you don't show up, work hard and do it and do all the little things around it, you're wasting your time and energy. So, and money. So, as a coach, I'm like, yeah, hire us. But that's one thing I even tell people though, straight up. I'm not a very good business person in some ways. Because I've had a lot of consultations with people, they're like, hey, I want to get into powerlifting and, really get strong and stuff. And, I want to, and they're basically ready to go. And I'm like, well, I'll be honest with you. Like the template program you're doing right now that you found for free on the internet, I would just keep doing that for another couple months and just get consistent and work hard and get a baseline before you actually hire a coach and save some money. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'll take your money, but if I'm being honest with you, like, you're not going to make that drastic of a difference, outside of technique. Now, obviously, I think technique is a big thing, but, assuming, they got pretty decent technique already, like the programming in the first month or two is not going to make or break like your powerlifting career. So, just, if you're starting day one and, on a program, just run what you're doing. And, when you're kind of through that and ready to, get a little bit more detailed, with exercise prescription and things like that, volume, all that stuff. Then come see us. But, I think, and don't get me wrong, I'm always happy to work with anybody at any point, but, I always also try to be transparent. Like the bang for your buck's not going to be there as a very, very beginner lifter outside of the technique correction. Like I do want to make sure that like the programming itself specifically, if you just go in the gym and work hard, I always tell people like, if you want to, if you've never touched a weight in your life and you want to increase your bench press, I could literally tell you to do, 10 push-ups a day for 3 weeks and your bench press is going to go up. Like, because you're starting at such a baseline level, doing anything is going to make you stronger. So, the detailed programming is not going to give you that much difference, compared to just doing, the basics. So.
Right. So I would add, and I agree with you 100 and like, I'd like to say more than 100%, but that's not really a thing.
Well, just like our sponsor, 110%.
110%. Oh, that was good. That was good.
That's actually mathematically impossible.
Right. So I'd say 110%. I agree with you. Like consistency is absolutely the key with pretty much any competitive thing that you want to do. Actually, probably anything you want to do in a serious way. Fixing your technique, in there, I think is really important. But I think part of the coach's role comes in with being consistent, because I think a lot of people are maybe wanting to be consistent, but don't feel like there's anyone to hold them accountable. And I think that sometimes that's where a coach kind of comes in. Like once you have that person to hold you accountable and interact with you, and now you're part of like a community, and now you're like, oh, well, now I'll be, I'll give 110%. Because I wasn't before, because some people really have a hard time doing that on their own without that social support from someone. And some people need to put some money down to get that consistency too. Like, you're paying for it, you better do it.
Yeah. And I agree. Like if people are, so I guess it's more, I guess it's more of an ethical thing for me. Like if people come to me believing that they have to have a coach to get stronger, they have to have a coach to be disciplined, like that's helpful, yes, but is it absolutely necessary? No. So like I can say, like I can confidently say, like if you want to get stronger, you can do it yourself, but you have to do it. And some people aren't willing to, or aren't able to, or need that coach. So I agree with you. But I just try to be transparent with that up front, because yes, I would gladly work with you if you know all of that fine print that you could do it yourself. Yeah, but I just want to make sure people understand that it's not 100% necessary in the initial
coach. Wow.
in the beginning. Yeah, it's from a business perspective, not always the best. I shouldn't say that. It's still a good business practice, I think, but put it this way. There's been clients that have been willing to sign up and pay that day that I talked them out of it, and then they ended up never coming and coaching with us. So missed opportunities there, but would they be a long-term client anyway if they never came back, or did they find their own way and self-coach and they're still doing it? I don't know, because I've lost touch with them because I never ended up working with them.
Right.
So, who knows?
Well, I mean, I think there's for each coach, there's a specific client, and not everyone's a good fit either. So,
oh yeah, everybody's not for everybody. There's people that are on our team that probably don't like me so much.
Especially when you prescribe that German volume training.
Yeah. Well, it is, it's a personality thing. Like, there's people too that, they want somebody in their face, like yelling at them and stuff like that. And there's other people that, they want to have a good time. Like they're still going to work hard, but they want to have a good time and it be, a social thing. And those two personalities don't typically work well together, training together. And if a coach is one certain way and an athlete's the other way, then there's going to be that conflict too.
So Josh, would you say Team Roar is more of the yelling at you, getting in your face, or training and being social?
So what the irony is? I think we're more training and being social. However, me as a lifter is a get in your face and get yelled at. So like when I'm training, like, I mean, people cussing me out, like screaming at me, like slapping me in the face, like when I was, that works for me. And that's what I thrive on. So when I started coaching, like that was the assumption that everybody wanted that. And that was not the case.
After you slapped your first person, they were like, what the hell's going on? No.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things, like, and there are people that are kind of like, I mean, Chris Elmore's one of them. Like he's one of those, like he wants the high energy, the yelling, that very intense, urgent situation, like when it's time to squat, sense of urgency, I guess, with stuff. And that's great. And he does a really good job with, being able to flip that on and then flip it off too. So that does merge well with, with some of the groups of people that are more social. And I almost hate breaking it down that way, because I'm making it sound like social is just doing it casually and having fun and yelling. And that's not what I mean. It's definitely not the case. Like everybody that's in there is, working hard. And there's people, there's national champion world level competitors that, they'll tell you they do better. Like if you're, making a joke, like right as they go out to do their attempt or stuff like that, because it helps them relax and they execute better. So, it's, and that's the way it is in training sometimes too. Like, it doesn't have to be one certain way for everybody. Like everybody's got their own personality. Right. And this is changing the subject, but we've talked about it before too. Like, don't try to be somebody else. Like, do what works for you. and, be your personality when you're lifting, just because you see crazy Josh screaming and slapping himself, like that doesn't mean you should do that.
Very true. Very true. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wonder which one Josh thinks we are.
Yeah. I mean, we're split, to be honest. Like we have a lot, and I would say there's a few other niche personalities in there as well, besides the
those two,
get crazy, yell, and joke around and socialize, I guess. But
yes.
But yeah, I don't know where we're going there.
Nowhere.
I just talked myself into a corner, and I don't know how to get out.
We should transition to how someone could send us a question.
Transition to the end
coaching.
Of this episode.
that stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Let's wrap this up.
Sounds good. All right. So if you're interested in getting coaching from Team Roar, you can shoot us a direct message on Instagram at Team Roar. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram at PL Ballads Podcast. And if you do have any questions, comments, concerns, you can shoot us an email at plballadspodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget, we do have a training app you can subscribe to as well. If you're not able to justify the one-on-one coaching that we offer, we do have a pretty reasonable option to subscribe to the app. You get multiple programs that our lifters have used. So definitely check that out. All of that can be found on our Instagram bio links as well. So on that note, goodbye.
That was nice. Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.